In 2025, the United States has introduced one of the most controversial immigration crackdowns in recent history. A list of 10 countries has been quietly marked as restricted, with severe visa bans, entry suspensions, and immigration freezes. These countries are no longer welcome in the US, and the consequences are deeply personal. Students are stranded mid-education. Families are being separated at borders. Workers who spent years building lives in America are suddenly locked out. The US government cites reasons like national security, fraud, and diplomatic breakdowns. But human rights activists argue that innocent people are being punished for political conflicts. From allies to adversaries, no nation seems safe from this sweeping policy change. As we uncover the 10 countries now banned, you'll be shocked by who made the list and why. Number 10, Iran. Iran continues to face heavy travel restrictions from the US, now more intense than ever. The American government has banned nearly all Iranian citizens from entering due to renewed tensions over nuclear policy and espionage concerns. Even students and family members of legal US residents are being denied entry. Travel visas, work permits, and asylum applications have all been halted. Iranian Americans are protesting the unfair treatment of their relatives and loved ones. Critics say this is not about national security, but political showmanship. Airlines have suspended direct flights, while embassy services have slowed to a crawl. Humanitarian cases, including urgent medical travel, are being rejected. The Iranian community in America now fears deportation and isolation. What once seemed like a diplomatic Cold War has now become personal. Number 9, Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, has been struck with a harsh US entry ban in 2025. The ban cites high fraud risk and unstable documentation systems as the core justifications. Yet, thousands of skilled Nigerian workers and students are now stuck in limbo. Tech professionals who fueled the American startup scene are now being forced to leave. Nigerian parents can no longer attend their children's graduation ceremonies. Even approved visas are being revoked without explanation. The move has caused outrage in both Nigeria and among Nigerian Americans. Business ties between the two nations are rapidly declining. Cultural and academic exchanges have collapsed. Flights have been cancelled, embassies overwhelmed, and relationships shattered. For many Nigerians, the American dream is now dead. Number 8, Venezuela. Venezuela has faced years of political unrest and economic collapse, but now America has slammed the door shut completely. The US government says the ban is due to fears of espionage and corruption linked to the Maduro regime. Humanitarian pathways for asylum have been frozen, leaving families trapped in poverty and danger. Many hoped the US would offer safety, but even refugees are being turned away. Flights between the countries have been cancelled, and embassy appointments are impossible to secure. The Venezuelan American community is demanding answers, but Washington remains silent. Children separated from parents are crying out for justice. Critics argue the policy punishes victims rather than oppressors. Desperation is growing across Venezuela as legal migration options vanish. For millions, America is now out of reach, just when they needed it most. Number 7, Pakistan. In a shocking move, the US has implemented a full-scale travel freeze on Pakistan. Officials cite concerns over national security, terrorism, and political instability. But many see it as a targeted and unfair ban. Pakistani students in the US have had their visas revoked mid-semester. Doctors and engineers working legally are facing deportation notices. Parents can't attend weddings, funerals, or family reunions. Pakistani-American families feel betrayed by the nation they've contributed to for decades. Protests are erupting across major cities, demanding justice. Embassy delays and unexplained rejections are common. The Pakistani government has called the move discriminatory and dangerous. Diplomatic ties are straining under the weight of this decision. America has just alienated a key player in South Asia. Number 6, Syria. Syria remains in crisis, and now, the US has completely cut off all immigration and travel from the country. Even humanitarian visas have been suspended, leaving families fleeing war with nowhere to go. The American government claims it cannot properly vet Syrian applicants. As a result, refugees, many of whom are women and children, are left in danger. American families trying to sponsor Syrian relatives have hit dead ends. International aid groups say this is a moral failure on a global scale. Syrian students with scholarships have been stripped of opportunity. The trauma of war is now compounded by rejection and isolation. Critics argue the ban has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with fear. With this decision, the US has turned its back on the world's most desperate people. Number 5. Yemen. Yemen's humanitarian disaster has only worsened, but the US has chosen to shut the door rather than help. With civil war, famine, and foreign interference tearing the nation apart, America now claims it cannot risk accepting Yemeni nationals. The decision affects asylum seekers, students, families, and even emergency medical patients. U.S. immigration offices have suspended all activity related to Yemen. Yemeni American families are devastated, unable to bring over children or spouses. Aid workers and journalists are also being denied travel. The United Nations has condemned the ban as inhumane. Critics say America is punishing the victims of war, not its perpetrators. As the country collapses, escape routes are closing. For Yemenis, the last light of hope has gone dark. Number 4. Afghanistan. After years of war and promises of refuge, the U.S. has turned away from Afghanistan once again. In 2025, visa processing for Afghan citizens has come to a complete stop. Translators, allies, and families who supported U.S. troops are now abandoned. Female activists are hiding in fear as their visa cases are frozen. Students accepted to American universities are being denied entry. The Taliban's control has made it harder to verify identity documents, and that's the reason cited. Yet, veterans across the U.S. are protesting the betrayal of their Afghan partners. Embassies have gone silent, and legal channels have collapsed. The once strong bond between U.S. soldiers and Afghan citizens is now broken. Hope, once promised, has become heartbreak. Number 3. Cuba. U.S.-Cuba relations have taken a steep dive in 2025 as America reinstates a full travel and visa ban. Accusations of cyber spying, government interference, and state surveillance triggered the freeze. The impact on Cuban families is devastating, especially for those with loved ones in the U.S. Immigration interviews are indefinitely postponed. Students, artists, and medical patients are all affected. Flights are limited, and diplomatic ties have grown tense. Cuban-American families are separated by politics beyond their control. The Cuban government calls the move a blockade in disguise. Cultural exchanges have halted, and hope for normalization has vanished. The island is more isolated than ever, and caught in a new Cold War. Number 2. Somalia. Somalia has faced a long history of U.S. travel restrictions, but in 2025, things have worsened. The U.S. now fully bans Somali nationals from entering, citing terrorism risks and lack of central government. Refugees who've waited years are now being told their cases are cancelled. Somali Americans cannot bring over relatives, even in life-and-death situations. Students with scholarships have been expelled or rejected. Somali families are breaking apart under the weight of policy. U.S. embassies have halted processing all Somali applications. Critics call this a racist and blanket ban that ignores individual cases. Human rights groups are urging an immediate reversal. But for now, Somalia remains completely cut off from America's shores. Number 1. Russia. Russia tops the list as tensions between Washington and Moscow hit boiling point. Following accusations of election interference, cyber attacks, and warfare, the U.S. has imposed a total visa freeze on Russian nationals. No student, worker, or tourist visas are being approved. Diplomatic staff have been reduced, and travel between the countries is grinding to a halt. Russian Americans are devastated as family visits and travel plans collapse. Artists, scientists, and students face total exclusion. Even dual citizens are being monitored more closely. The Kremlin has retaliated with bans on American travelers. What started as a cyber Cold War has become a human Cold War. The damage may last for generations. These 10 countries, now blocked from the United States, reflect a new era of isolation and fear. What was once a beacon of hope and opportunity now closes its doors to millions in need. Governments argue over politics, but innocent people suffer the consequences. Students, workers, refugees, and families are paying the price for global tensions. Trust in the American dream is crumbling. Borders meant to protect are now turning into walls of injustice. Will these bans be reversed, or will more nations be added to the list? Only time will tell. But for now, the message is loud and clear. Not everyone is welcome. And that changes everything. I hope you like this video. God bless. Goodbye.